Hello everyone, just a quick word from your friendly editor/husband. For all of you who listen to So I'm Watching This Show and own an Android device, do me a favor. Go to the Google Play Store and download the Podcast Republic app. It's a fantastic app that allows you to get all of your favorite podcasts directly on your Android devices. I use the app and love it. I can search for the podcasts I want to listen to, select them as favorites, and have them all just a click away. Make sure you set So I'm Watching the Show as a favorite so you don't miss any new episodes. Again, the app is Podcast Republic, available on your Android device. Thanks!
Sorry, I got to my first note, and my first note is 517 AD.
Oh, man. I have a lot to say.
Oh, do you? I was going to say it's a shame that... Because at first, you wanted to watch the first two, and I was like, no, this is a reboot. Let's just go ahead and watch this. I thought it would be good you going in.
I am so glad I went in having not seen the other ones.
Oh, are you?
Yes,
oh, okay.
So glad. I don't think I would be able to form words if I had seen the other two first.
I've only seen the first one, and frankly, I would like to see it again, because I think I would like it better now than I did. That's the best part of the entire experience. It's that band, like 2WEI. They basically just do covers, like trailer music. Like they did Survivor for Tomb Raider, that version of Survivor that's so good. We're gonna need that. That's going to be on the playlist, and we're going to need it to close out this episode, because that was the best part of the entire fucking movie. Actually, there were several good parts in this god-awful movie.
Yeah, I have things to say. I have things to say.
Okay.
There were parts of this movie that were in other movies altogether. Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, hello everybody. I am Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching This Show. On today's episode, we are going to regurgitate, I don't know, we're going to talk about Hellboy.
We're going to barf at you for approximately 35 minutes about the new Hellboy movie.
I didn't pull up anything about it. It's the dude who directed The Descent.
Neil Marshall.
It's sad. This movie was all over the fucking place.
Yes. Look, okay, I wanted to start out by saying I had zero preconceived notions going into this because I have seen neither one of the Guillermo del Toro movies. All this movie had going for it, I didn't even know about Milla Jovovich until today.
No way. I talked about it. I guess I only talked about it with Will, though.
I might have forgotten if you said it in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
All I knew about this movie...
Did you not watch the trailer? No. I thought the trailers looked good.
I haven't seen anything for it, purposefully.
Mm-hmm.
All I knew about this movie is that I really like David Harbour. That's it. And I like the idea of Hellboy.
This movie is awful.
Yeah.
I mean a turkey. It's like a turducken.
Well, okay, that's the other thing I was gonna say is I did know that it had a 9% on Rotten Tomatoes, which
it's at 12.
It went up to 12 today. And so, if anything, I feel like that should have made me want to give it more of a shot, but it was just that bad that I didn't even the 12% didn't make me more charitable to it.
I don't know where to start. You mentioned David Harbour, and I was going to just say that to be quite honest, I thought he was good.
Yeah, no, I mean, I asked Will when we got out of the movie. I was like, was that okay, or was Ron Perlman better, or what? And I was like, do I just not like Hellboy? And he was like, you might not like Hellboy, but he was like, I thought David Harbour did a good job.
Yeah, I think they were on par. I thought he was good, and he was slapstickier than, which, I mean, I guess I'm not surprised that, noted character actor David Harbour is a good character actor, but, it's, what is his name on Stranger Things?
Hooper.
We're not getting him, crashing into Winston Churchill's table and then, right. Having to hoist his, 500-pound body off of it in a way that it was, he... Okay. I don't know who's at fault, but I want someone, and I want their head in a guillotine. Because
I want someone held accountable.
I want blood. There needs to be blood in the street.
There will be blood.
There were things about this movie that I actually thought were great. And by the end of the movie, I was actually having the time of my life. This was such a weird sort of like roller coaster of ups and downs with my experience watching it. Where I mean, there were points in the movie where I was straight sneering at it, and there were other parts where I was like having the time of my life.
Well, you and I cackled in delight a handful of times.
Yeah, it was bizarre. I'm looking forward to be fully honest. Honestly, I'm looking forward to seeing it again. I just wonder how much time is going to have to pass. And I do kind of want to watch the first one again and see the second one. I've seen parts of it. I know the Lord and the Lady with like the long white hair and stuff, but I didn't love the Guillermo del Toro ones. And I think part of that is just who I was at that time in my life. I think I just wasn't quite ready for...
I was going to say, I feel like you might like it better now because... having not seen them, and I can almost guarantee that at some point we will do the two of them for an episode, so, you know,
I mean,
please stop throwing tomatoes at me.
It's Ron Perlman, Selma Blair, and then Doug Jones.
Yeah. So the thing for me about those two is that I feel like even having not seen them, I feel like they're automatically better because they are certain to be like 90% practical. And this movie was like a digital disaster.
Well, but they're coherent. They're sort of contained in focus where as we mentioned, we heard this movie was bad going in. Yeah. And so part of me took that as a challenge because I was like, we actually kind of love Gods of Egypt, and that is a 14.
Yeah, and we kind of liked King Arthur, which is higher than that, but not good.
Yeah, and it was... honestly, not even minutes. It was within seconds of the movie starting that I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
It opens with this like just frantic narration by Ian McShane.
Yeah.
Recanting who Nimue is. And equally as frantic visuals, like the pacing of it. And I was like, it was like we were on a theme park ride and needed to get the backstory in order to ride Pirates of the Caribbean or something. I was like, holy shit. And I don't think that was the place to start. I mean, I understand that this is a comic book, and to my knowledge, it's actually fairly accurate to the comic. So maybe this is like a pointless feud for me or like bone for me to pick. I didn't understand Nimue at all. She is mythologically the Lady of the Lake.
In reality, she is what you're saying. That's what you're telling me?
Yeah, Nimue is the Lady of the Lake.
Okay, because that Merlin miniseries does not portray that.
No, she is there. Okay, well, that's my second point. It's because for a hot minute, I was mad that they named her Vivian Nimue because my understanding was Vivian was a second character.
Okay.
And then I Googled it real quickly, and apparently the Lady of the Lake has like 12 names, depending. The Arthurian legend is a behemoth. It like, depending on what part of the countryside you're in, it's different.
Yeah, that was part of my problem. There was like... so many different things involved in this story. Like, shit, I can't even remember one of them, but I just was, the Arthur legend at first, I was like, oh, okay, I was not aware of that. I leaned over to Will and asked him, and he said he couldn't remember if it was in the other two movies.
I mean, I remember Nazis. I don't remember Arthur.
Well, I don't know. And then before we get too far, there was Rasputin and Nazis, and the Nazis were wearing 3D glasses. And then there was that werebore.
And then Kevin and Fangs Fogarty got married. Yeah.
And I was like, I don't understand what's actually happening here. And then I feel like there was one other thing, and I couldn't remember, but it just
was... Is it not the Giants?
Well, yeah, it was so many different things too, like very distinctly different things that like really didn't match up to me, and then all scored by flogging Molly for some reason.
it was like a very specific kind of nerd just like ejaculated this out.
Right?
Like, and that was the part of me where I was like, I was having such emotional whiplash watching this because part of me was kind of loving it. Will made a joke about how shitty the giant scene looked, and I was kind of like, oh, I was having fun with it. Like I felt like I got in trouble.
I mean, I wasn't not having fun, but it did look shitty. And then
the whole movie looked like something that was filmed for 3D, and then they gave up at the last minute.
Yes, and also Will and I had the same problem at the exact same moment, and now I don't remember exactly what was happening in it, but this movie was, he told me that it was called was the 180 degree rule.
The editing. Oh my god, it
breaking
broke.
That rule all over the place where like you're shifting between two characters and then all of a sudden they're on opposite sides of the screen from where you think they're supposed to be. He was like it cut over to this person. I was looking at the fucking whole other side of the screen wondering what the fuck was going on.
It's like a cardinal rule of filmmaking, and it's very, very rarely broken because it renders the movie incomprehensible, like the way that the human brain pieces things together. And there were so many scenes where they broke the 180 degree rule, or even just like, I mean, I counted 3 scenes where like a character had her arms open and then we cut and they were down in the next scene. And I was just like, oh my God. I mean, it's one thing if we're watching a TV show and they had to make something fucking work, but I was like, and why was the whole movie, presumably, the entire movie, every single character sounded like they were ADR'd?
It was a little.
Especially the women, all of them. And it's like, that girl, Sasha Lane, she was fine.
That's the girl from American Honey, right? That critically acclaimed indie movie from like 3 years ago?
Is that her? Okay.
So.
She was fine, but her voice not only didn't suit the character, but like no matter what was happening, it sounded like all of her dialogue was added after the fact, and she had just like come out of a massage. Like her vocalization, I don't know. It was so weird. It was so bizarre. I've already completely lost my train of thought, like where we were.
No, I mean, there just was like so much going on, and that girl's from Texas. That's why her accent sounded stupid.
Okay. It was so weird. I'm glancing at my notes. I took so many notes for this movie, y'all. I took so many notes.
You really did. I took more than I usually do too. I went on to another page, a second page.
What the fuck? I guess spoilers. I don't know if this is that kind of episode. What the fuck was Thomas Hayden Church?
The Lobster.
Oh, okay.
I can't think of it. I can't think of the word I want to use, but he was famous Nazi hunter, the Lobster, is what they called him. But then it took him like, again, going to your ADR thing, it took him like 7 lines for me to be like, oh, hey, that's Thomas Hayden Church.
Yeah, I don't know. I wrote down some notes that are completely irrelevant because, like, when Hellboy, they were going to go defeat the giants. And you know what's so funny is when they were, like, trying to pitch him on this giant mission. And the guy literally goes, 1 giant we could handle. 2, sure. But 3, that's a whole different story. And I thought, huh?
Is it?
Why is that a whole different story? Like, what is
it's like a marginally bigger story.
Yeah. And so then when the scene actually happens, I was like, oh, okay, that weird line makes sense. And also, and that is the thing, is the movie was kind of funny. I did genuinely, I mean, I
laughed. I genuinely laughed a couple times, but I laughed a lot when I wasn't supposed to.
The one that I actually thought was so funny, and again, David Harbour's performance being good, but he was like, you know what's worse than being stabbed in the back? And he just goes, being stabbed in the back! Like, that was funny. That was really good. And it's like, this movie was so violent.
Yes, it was very violent.
How many eye gougings were there?
A lot, and so many stabbings.
Towards the end, when Nimue is like rising her demons,
Mhm.
they're like combing through the streets of London after they had already issued like a
plague warning
global like plague warning
where it's like it's gonna be 100,000 people dead in like
within
2
hours.
hours, and then it's already spread to the EU. It's gonna be global in no time. And I was like, well, first of all, ground the flights.
And then within minutes, the people were just sort of like strolling around, just like hanging out. And these demons come through wreaking havoc, and they are decimating people. And it was so over the top that I actually found it delightful. It was hysterical to me, the way that they were going after. Like, I could have watched, I'm not even kidding, 4 more minutes of that.
Sure.
Like, the way that the one grabbed the dude and just pulled all the skin off of his face.
Yeah.
And, like, they did a lot of that. They did a lot of, like, pulling the skin off people and, like, ripping them in half. And the one, because it was logic be damned. He, like, I guess had...
It was this giant tall thing that was, like, mostly bones, and we saw it, like, impale, like, 2 people, but it looked like it was impaling them on the bottom of its feet, but it turned out it was impaling them in the knee joint.
And
so
you
it was
like, how did they get so high up there?
It was like walking around with like 2 people impaled in the space between each knee joint, and then walking on feet that were presumably lower than that.
And for like half a minute, I was like, that's Sharon. She's going to pick her son up from daycare because there's a plague coming. And it was so weirdly fun. I was just at my wit's end at that point that
same.
I found that part hysterical. I was like in a Rob Zombie, It's a Small World. Like, I wanted to go again. Because they pick up the one dude and it had like a weird, like forked axe, and it just rakes him down the axe and pulls all of his skin off. And I was like, what? And you're right. It's all CGI. So it meant nothing. It meant absolute nothing to me. And I started to say earlier on when you were like, this was such a CGI mess, which it was. I'm not trying to imply that it wasn't. But I was going to give them credit for at least attempting to have some, because Hellboy is practical. I mean, praise the gods. That would have been an effect in any other movie. And at least like whatever the fuck that pig demon was. Well, the pig demon was the changeling, was it not?
It was, yes.
I didn't follow the narrative. Like,
well, that's because that was another like one element too far. I could have just literally the lines from Alice, "You saved my life as a baby," would have been fine.
There were 35 elements too far. We were toasted, but
I was not that toasted. I feel stone sober right now.
You
and I pounded a bourbon right before we went in. Like, it took me like 5 minutes to drink that bourbon.
It was like 3 different episodes of a TV show.
Yeah.
That they strung together to make a narrative.
Well, but it's like it's 3 episodes of a TV show that they re-edited to put things in different places.
Well, in that regard, it sounds like a miniseries. It sounded like they tried to edit like an 8 or 10 episode miniseries into like a
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The rate at which things were happening, and also the emotional heft that scenes were supposed to be. I mean, as cool as that like woman, what was her name, was Lady Hatton?
Oh.
The beautiful black woman with the white hair. She was like really awesome, but then she's like dead and we're supposed to care. And then, okay, I don't know whatever the fuck Alice's deal was.
Yeah.
That her power, I have never in my life seen a psychic that had to like regurgitate their insides into like a cobra of the victim.
Right. Well, but it also like a cobra, but also reminiscent of like an umbilical cord.
Because you said something the first time it was happening, you were just like, it wasn't like dear God, but you kind of blasphemed a little bit where you were just like, I cannot believe that I'm looking at
it was fucking so weird.
It was Satan in hell. What am I watching? Like, and I mean, it's like they were also weirdly naked. Like we had to see, and I mean, I guess a ghost would, I don't know, are ghosts naked? Because it was
not
like,
to my knowledge. Ghosts exist in the clothes they died in, as far
Well,
as
they had
I know.
hair, though, so I don't know. It was so bizarre, and she's just sort of... We cut back to her, and she's just sort of on the sidelines, like...
Yeah.
And then it goes back inside of her at one point, and it was like... I don't know. It was like human centipede levels.
Yeah, it was horrible. It was
shit.
truly horrible. Both times it happened. And look, Ian McShane is a very handsome, sexy older man, but like, I don't need to see his like umbilical cord pulsing up into his chest. It was fucking disgusting.
And he also was just straight chilling. DC chilling. He was just like, when they cut back after all of that had happened, and he was still just like hovering in the corner, I started laughing. I was like, this poor woman, can she breathe? Like...
Poor Alice is going asphyxiating down in the basement.
And also, I mean, this is neither here nor there, but it sort of annoys me. Excalibur is not the sword and the stone. They are two different swords.
Are they?
Oh yeah, they're two different swords. Well, and that's why you laughed at me, because I think you couldn't help it. I was not subtle. But I reacted because I was perplexed by Nimoy's presence through the entire movie. But when Merlin was like, oh, there's Excalibur, and I was like, the literal one thing that she actually does.
Right.
And she's not the one there to do it. It was just sort of floating. But no, Excalibur is not the sword and the stone.
Okay.
That sword breaks in battle. And then Excalibur is given to him by the Lady of the Lake as like a third act, redemption.
Also, I did get a text from Will. David Harbour's name is Hopper in Stranger Things. I said Hooper.
Did we say Hooper?
It's Hopper, and I know that. I remember that now, and I feel terrible about it. Maybe I am more toasted from the bourbon than I thought.
I was going to say, you completely... we have a new recording set up, and I'm very self-conscious about it, because I know he can hear everything I'm saying loudly, and only my side of the conversation, so I feel
I'm far
very,
enough away.
It's one of the reasons why I try to leave my fan on. But now I'm all self-conscious. There were things about this movie that was cool. This was one of those rare occasions where I was actually getting shit that I live for, like mythology. And they threatened us with fairies. And though I didn't care for how they were given to us, I was still sort of thrilled that we were getting secret organization, because they called it the Osiris Club. And even just the giants and shit, where they were like, we've been keeping giants, a secret. And even just in the Osiris Club, you pointed out, and I saw it too, because I'm me, but there was a full mermaid skeleton.
Yeah.
I hate that I'm being so hard on this, because it's so close to being something that I love and something that I strive for. And there's a scene in the movie, I honestly, now that I think about it, have no idea what it meant or where it came from, honestly. But he goes to this other realm, and there's this weird old mansion on chicken legs walking, and I just was like, oh my god. And you were like, what? And I was like, it's Baba Yaga. And I said in unison with him that it's Baba Yaga. And it's we've seen Baba Yaga in things, most recently in The Magicians, but it was it was kind of, and I love The Magicians. This is not a slight, but it was a cop-out. It was a straight cop-out.
Well, I mean, The Magicians can only do so much.
Exactly. And so there was something that was so unbelievably Emma Stone, this is amazing, where I was because that's in the thing. She lives in a house that walks around on chicken legs. And I remember reading that as a kid and being like, I'm sorry, what? And then seeing it realized, where I was like, oh, you mean exactly the way it sounds. And it's she's a witch that eats children. And there was something, I mean, as kind of grotesque as it was and awful as it was, there was something kind of awesome about seeing such a straightforward representation.
Yeah.
Up to including dead children hanging in her kitchen.
Yeah, that I honestly, it was interesting, and it was such a choice to make, but there were a couple moments similar to that. That was the biggest one to me, but there were several moments are scenes in the movie where I was like, they're trying so hard to be another Guillermo del Toro movie, and it is not working.
Is it just because it reminded you of the Pan's Labyrinth scene, or?
Yes, it reminded me so much of Pan's Labyrinth, but it was also as like those moments were the only time where things were practical and not digital, and that's why I just was like, this is not working. It was like very apparent in those couple of moments where I was like, this is really, I feel like Neil Marshall was trying to like homage Guillermo del Toro, but it felt like a cheap, bad ripoff.
Well, I mean, yeah, I get that, because I mean, I was just thrilled to see, you know, the fantasy manifested, but from an actual,
sure, and in
like,
that sense, it's great and it's cool, but
from like a filmmaking standpoint, it was
it's a
sort
ripoff.
of, and I literally said, I started this whole like section being like, I didn't understand its place in the movie, because,
right.
I mean, did she give him, I had to ask you, I was like, wait, what did she offer him?
She told him where to find Nimue.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I sort of feel like they could have figured it out and just found that gnarly old tree that was the only tree for miles. That would have been my first go.
Yeah, it was cool. But it was like, in that scene, because I thought that set was neat with like the chandeliers and stuff. I kind of wish it was swaying more.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the house literally was up until the entire time we were in that set. But
well, and again, I feel like if it was Guillermo del Toro, it would have been. And that would have been part of the whole scene and part of the plot.
That was also practical. And like, well, because I said when he like went to the table, I was like, do not eat any of that food.
Right.
Which is a very famous mythical fantasy thing, is that if you're ever in a scenario like that, don't eat the food. But also Baba Yaga, I was like, those are children.
Yeah. I did want to talk about Milla Jovovich for a minute.
About how awful and ugly her whole costume was?
Well, I don't really care about that. What I do want to say, first of all, is that she is keeping it tight. That was going to be my opening thing, just because I'm about to shit all over the rest of it. She looks incredible. She is a stunning beauty, and that can never be taken away from her.
So what are you going to take away from her now?
What movie was she in? Because it wasn't this one. At every single turn, I was like, what's with your, like, shouty whisper voice?
I was gonna say her, like, surprisingly restrained, like...
Which, on the one hand, honestly, props. I didn't know she had that nuance in her, to be honest. But, on the other hand, who was directing all these different actors to do such wildly different things? Like, that none of these performances belong in the same movie, and we haven't even got to Daniel Day Kim yet.
No, we haven't. You can't really hold the movie accountable for this. It's a personal opinion on my part, but I'm like, look, if she is like the 5th century blood queen and all this garbage, she deserves, at least at the very end, some sort of like regality. And
yeah,
she's
not like
wearing
a torn silk.
A smock.
Yeah.
Like, and at that point, just let her be naked, to your point. Like, just actually use that R rating and pop some titties out. Like,
yeah, I was like, this was a hard R. There's no reason they couldn't have had her topless.
Yeah.
Well, at least one boob, you know, through the tatters of
Throw
the dress.
a merkin on her. Let her be like weird and like tribal and shit. I don't know. It just like and the crown. I mean, it was kind of who were the other witches? That blonde chick showed up, and I was like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, I have no idea. No idea.
Like, did they? And where did they go? Furthermore, like, were they? I guess
like
she
like
killed
in the
two.
interim, you mean?
Well, they like imprisoned her. Right? They were the ones who did it?
Well, Arthur cut her into pieces.
Right. But they were there, I think. And then I guess they hid in a tree for a millennia and a half.
For 1,500 years.
And then came out to, like, grovel? And they were like, well, put the blonde one first. We're gonna need her. I don't know. I thought it was strange. I thought it was really strange. You're right. We did gloss over Daniel Day Kim as handsome as ever.
No, totally. Again,
Lord have mercy.
Stunning beauty that can't be taken away from him.
Again, he couldn't like whip it out. Like it's something that irks me. It annoys me
dicks
so.
Make movies NC-17.
Not necessarily. It can be like No, not necessarily, like, erect ones, sure, but...
Well, okay.
But he's like, and I mean, I saw that coming a mile away because he was all like being like rah, 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 about Hellboy, and I was like, whatever, werewolf.
Yeah.
And you just sort of laughed at me.
Well, I was like, you're probably right, and because he kept injecting stuff into himself, he was like, oh god, it's coming, and he was like injecting stuff into his thigh or whatever, and I was like, no, you're totally right.
And then like it happens, and it was like. Well, again, it was a perfect like metaphor for the movie because like part of it was actually kind of really cool, and then the rest of it was really phoned in like a bad '90s movie kind of way.
Yes,
like very blood and chocolate, and I was
like one of the Species movies.
Yeah, and he's like this cheetah. I guess he's a cheetah. I hate it so much. I guess because I grew up with the word werewolf.
Right.
It feels like its own thing. So when people say...
Yeah, you know what it feels like is how, like, every time there's a scandal, we add the word gate to the end of it.
Oh my god, yes.
That's exactly what it is. Where it's like, Watergate is the name of the hotel. It's not like, it wasn't a gate of water.
I was like, I want so badly for something to happen again in Watergate, so we have to refer to it as Watergate Gate.
That's
you know
so
what I mean?
good.
Like,
I can't wait.
Yeah, so he, like, turns into the were-cheetah, and then in the very next scene, he's got his fucking pants on again! And I was like, what? I mean, even Once Upon a Time, to its credit, like, Ruby was naked, and they had to bring her cape and put it on her.
Well,
you know
she's
what I mean?
a woman. Like, it's, ladies gotta be naked. Daniel Day Kim can keep his pants on.
But we need to see it. It's good. I just know it!
I just know it!
I don't know. It's like... man.
I took issue. I don't remember who he was talking to, but somebody asked Hellboy who he was or what he was or something, and he said he was a Capricorn. And I have a pretty big problem with that because he does not strike me as a Capricorn at all.
It's because he has ram's horns.
So why isn't he a Taurus?
No, Capricorn is like part ram and part fish, and it has like the big horns that look like his. That's literally why.
I'm sorry. He is an Aries or a Taurus, and I will accept nothing else.
Well, because he followed it up with it was Nimue, and she was like, "We belong together," and he's like, "That's not going to work because I'm a Capricorn and you're fucking nuts." And it was like he was doing a bit. I just wrote down, it was when the changeling scene was happening, and I just wrote down, why is this Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Oh my god, that's such a good point.
It was like...
It really was, wasn't it? With that cigar-smoking baby.
Yeah.
Shit.
No, I don't remember if I made this point already. This episode's a mess, and I'm drunk, but... It was when we were talking about the CGI, and I was like, at least they attempted with the pig thing. It like was a practical effect. Like that was a man in a suit, and then they like aided it with CGI. And however effective you think the results were, I feel like is sort of beside the point, because that's the sort of thing that I wish we could get to with movies, where it's like, unless you have fucking state-of-the-art CGI, I really wish we could find more of a marriage between the two.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. The whole thing was so weird. Yeah, one of my notes, I wrote way too hip for its own good, like the jokes it was making.
It was so flippant.
Yeah.
Everything about it was so... Well, you said frantic, which is a different note, and I definitely agree with that. But in addition to the, like, frenetic energy of everything, every joke was so flippant and, like, deliberately off the cuff. And it's just, like, that's not funny. It's... Things aren't funny when I can tell there's work behind it. I don't know. It was very... like, specifically the line that was it was literally the first thing that I like saw you visibly react to, where he is like in Alice's apartment and she's like, or maybe I've got a shotgun loaded with angel bones aimed right at your todger. And I was like, what was that word salad that just happened?
Because I did really react to that, and I was like...
You leaned over and you were like, angel's bones?
I was like, I don't know that that's how angels work.
It was hilarious. But also, it was like hilarious because it was so absurd, but it wasn't funny. It wasn't a funny joke. It just was like, that's a mix of words I never thought to hear in a sentence together. And that's why I laughed, but it wasn't funny.
Oh, man. I feel like I'm gonna wish I had said more.
Well, we can tweet about it, too.
Yeah, because I literally, half of my first page of notes are moot. Because, like, one of them I wrote, I was like, hi, Long Shadow. Oh, R.I.P. Long Shadow, his horse that he got.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, no, it doesn't matter. It's inconsequential. Like, we didn't need to be introduced to that horse. Did it even die?
That's the thing. It had like a full introduction where the guy was like, "This is Long Shadow," and then Hellboy had a whole like meet cute with it, and then you're right, it just never came up again.
And I was just sort of like, "Oh, okay. Thanks for making me learn that word." Like, I have a note that says his daddy issues are interesting, and I guess they weren't because I have no idea why I wrote that down. Like, I have no idea what prodded me to write that down. I guess Ian McShane, but...
They could have been interesting, but, like, even Ian McShane... Well, okay.
Ian McShane can do this in his sleep. He's currently doing this in his sleep right now in Stars.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Ian McShane is in that phoning it in phase of his career right now.
So, bye. I mean, I don't know. Do you have any more?
No, it's just such a debacle. Yeah.
So his horns were cool. His like weird flaming crown was cool. I don't know. I had heard somewhere that this was originally intended as like the third movie in the Guillermo del Toro franchise.
Well, they were like, he was planning to do it, and then everything like kind of went under for it.
I guess I wish that had happened.
Yeah, same.
I'm honestly, I will say, I'm truly sorry that it was this bad.
Me too.
Because the parts of it that were good and fun, I would have relished. I mean, we haven't covered it because it came out before we were doing this podcast, but we kind of have a controversial take on that, as we already mentioned, King Arthur movie.
Yeah.
Where we're like, it's not good, but
it's ambitious.
I would have watched a sequel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so this just, I don't understand how mythology, how like
everybody
balls to the wall
biffs it at every turn.
How balls to the wall crazy mythology is failing because it's like this shit is as old as time.
Yeah,
like we should be able to make that, and it can work because fucking Lord of the Rings works. You know what I mean? It's like
Game
it can
Thrones
be
works. That's very similar.
Yeah, I don't. Now I'm angry. Fuck. Now I'm just pissed.
Well, I guess you can tell how we felt about Hellboy if you've made it this far. We will almost definitely, like I said, do the Guillermo del Toro ones at some point, and like Will just said, we will cover King Arthur, because there's a case to be made for these high fantasy, big, medium to big budget movies. There's a case to be made to keep making them, but I think there's a bigger case to be made in getting someone good to make them. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Sure. I'm still mad.
Sorry. I guess that's as good a point.
Where was Katie McGrath? She should have been in this movie.
She's fucking busy. She's still on Supergirl.
Yeah, she's lesing it up. Well, she's not, but...
Well, she's not lesing it up, but she's on Supergirl.
Yeah.
There's
another one.
That's as good a point as any to bow out of this.
17th of all.
All right. As always, you can find us on Twitter @SoI'mWatching, Instagram @SoI'mWatchingThisShow. We are also on Facebook and Tumblr, So I'm Watching This Show. I assume you're going to add one or more things to the Spotify playlist. So I'm Watching This Show, the music. And
we're also, we've mentioned it once or twice, but you need to add it to the thing that we're on YouTube now.
Oh, yes, we are on YouTube now. I keep forgetting that we are. That's why. We are on YouTube now. It is not currently video, but if you need a different place to listen, and as soon as we can figure out a new, or like a place to start recording video, we will get there. And then other than that, we have our website, soimwatching.com, that links out to everything, including our Patreon, where we are currently covering several shows and are about to start covering Game of Thrones. So, yeah, if you want to listen to us talk about Game of Thrones for these last 6 episodes, definitely become a $3 patron or above. And then other than that, just please rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes or wherever you listen. And that's it for us.
The 2 WEI version, not that like purple smoke version, Will.